everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on today's webinar where we'll be covering how to manage offered slots. Well, before we get started, feel free to grab today's presentation from the handout section. So the slides that we'll be covering today are available in that handout section. So feel free to grab those before you head out today, since this is the space where we'll make those available. After the webinar ends, you will be receiving a follow-up email with the recording. So if you do need to review this, you'll be able to do that, but we don't have the ability to include recording any attachments. So there is a handout section. So on the GoToWebinar control panel, there should be a menu of items. You probably see a chat option. You might see a questions section, and there should be a handout section as well. Beck, if you want to confirm that you can see the handout visible for me.
Let me check real quick. I can't see my control panel anymore. I hit it. Where did it go? Control panel. Okay, let's see. Handouts. I don't have a handout section today.
Yeah, I don't have a handout section either, but my GoToWebinar has been acting up the last few webinars. Oh, it looks like
somebody is, but not everybody is.
Okay,
some
perfect.
people have it and some people don't.
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, guys, but mine has been doing that this entire time. So if you do not have that available, just go ahead and drop that a note in the questions box, and I will go ahead and send them to you personally. Our view may be a little different of what our control panel looks like from yours, since we're organizers, so it might look a little different. So I don't have a screenshot of what that looks like. I'm so sorry. But if you're not able to get those handouts, just drop a note in the questions box. I will forward those to you during the presentation. But with that in mind, drop your questions in the questions box. I will be monitoring those throughout the presentation, and we'll be stopping at specific timeframes just to kind of call out any questions that might be good for everyone to hear. And with that in mind, we'll go ahead and get started. Beck Rothke will go ahead and guide us through this presentation. Take it away, Beck.
All right, thanks everybody for coming today. We're going to be talking about how to manage those offered slots that you got through the March 1st mailing. So our agenda today is just to talk about how you're going to view slots, how you might manage them, the types of slots that you're going to be getting, and then statistics and reports that you can pull from the March mailing or at any point in time, obviously. So let's talk about viewing slots first. Obviously, there's many different ways to view slots in Exact. The main ways that you might do it would be through a dashboard widget, going into an individual site and seeing the offers that are there, going into a specific session, or going to the analyze section of the slot request. In terms of the dashboard widgets, these are not going to be all your slots. The widgets are only for special slots or slots that need some kind of attention. So basically those are going to show up only when specific types of slots are added. For instance, new locations, if somebody's added a site to a new location, or they say that the location's not there, that's one reason you'll see it. Sites that are requesting to be contacted later, pending slots, so that means they didn't click confirm, and so that's sort of a slot that's just sitting out there, not confirmed. And then first come, first serve slots. If you have any slots that you did not dismiss previously, they're also going to show up in the widget. So like if last year's slots are there, or if somebody added a first come, first serve sometime before the March 1st mailing, it will still show up in the widget. You might have some dashboard messages at the top of your page. So on first glance, you won't see those on the dashboard, but if you scroll down, you'll see the widgets on the dashboard. So this is what it looks like when you don't have any dashboard messages and you've got your widgets. So you can see there's a number count for each of the different types of slots that are here. So let's talk about how to view slots from the clinical site. So when you're doing this, you're going to go through clinical sites. Maybe you just want to either check out what a site gave you, or you know that there's something from them. So you're going to go to clinical sites, search sites, and then you're going to select the specific site that you're looking for. And then on the right-hand menu of that particular site, you're going to see something that says slots. And you'll click on that, and it will take you to view the slots. So viewing slots at the clinical site, you got to make sure you select the correct year. The year's up here. And if you don't select that year, you're going to see whatever there is that's already selected as the default. There is a way to set the default, so you don't have to keep on selecting it. You'll go to configuration, configure calendar year, and select the one that you want it to be. And then slots that are offered are going to be aqua unless they are pending, in which case they'll be gray. So if it's aqua like this, that means it's an offer slot. The other colors up here will show you if like they if it's orange, there'll be somebody placed in it or something like that. But that won't be the case yet, most likely, because these are just slots that you're bringing in. So that's that works. If you wanted to look at the slots by a particular session, you're probably going to want to go to placements by session for that. So you can see the total count of slots that are offered and any other additional details if you do this. So you're going to go to placements by session, and then you're going to select the session that you want, and then you're going to click the placement button, which is the middle one. And you'll see a couple of different things. One is that you'll have this middle section with this with these counts in it. This is like right towards the middle of the page. So if you wanted to know how many slots you have, it gives you that count right here. If you wanted to know specifics about that, you'll click on this, the circle, and it will bring up, the list of slots. So it kind of gives you a nice list there. You can also view your offered slots through the Analyze section. So you'll go to slot request, click on Analyze, which is the one that looks like a little bar graph, and then you'll click on the total slots offered report, and it's going to show you what the slots offered are. Okay, so before we move on from this first section, that's kind of looking at your received slots. Does anybody have any questions before we go forward?
Just have a few questions about the handouts, so just sending those out, but
Okay.
We should be good.
All right, sounds good. All right, so let's talk about managing slots then. So there's a lot of managing slots basically is how you might want to work with them. And what you can do within steps is you can confirm pending slots. You can add additional slots or add slots in general if somebody sent you a paper back instead of going through Exact. You can also manage the response in general. So sometimes you're not going to get a slot. Sometimes it's just, they're saying no or call me later. So you can actually manage the response through that. And then you can publish first come first serve slots to your students so that you can start to gather their interest and get that out to your sites. Let's first talk about confirming pending slots. So if a site has offered a slot or slots or has responded to the slot request in some way, but did not confirm them, they get added to your system as pending slots. They're inactive and they won't show up on your assigned placement page as a result. So you'll see the whole list of those once you click on the widget on your dashboard, and then you'll have the option to either confirm the slot or delete the slot, depending. Now, the best practices here are people usually reach out to the site directly to ask them if they can confirm, or maybe they just know that from working with the site that they don't usually click the confirm button, but it's usually just fine anyway. So depending on how you work with that site, you'll know what you need to do. That's the one thing that you'll want to do there. One of the options that you have on this page is to go ahead and confirm or delete the slots all at one time. So you can see there's this confirm or delete, and you can just click on the top part here, and it lets you select all and either confirm them or delete them. If you needed to add, edit, or delete a slot, you can do that at the site level. That's kind of the best place to do it. So maybe you received the slot request outside of Exact, either by email or fax or whatever, and then you need to put that into the system. You can also edit slots doing this exact same thing that we're going to do right now. So you go to clinical sites, search the site, select the site, and then go to the slots menu, which is on the right-hand side. And then you'll click add slot to whatever session and sequence that you needed to add it to. So this allows you to add the slot or edit the slot. editing, you'll just click on the actual slot here to add. Obviously, you click add. If you need to add where there's already something added, you can just click add again. It's going to allow you to do that. You can't do the same setting. So if it's already, if you already have a home health here, you'd have to click on the home health and add additional slots to this one. If you wanted to do a different setting, you would click add slot. So some of the required fields on that slot page, or on that, on the edit slot page are already going to be filled out if they've done it. But the only required fields if you're adding a new slot are going to be the setting and the number of students. Those are the only required fields. And then other things you can do when you're here, if you're editing it from what somebody has told you, is you can mark them as interview required. If a resume is required, you can mark that. If it's first come first serve, must be filled, offered through consortium, or has been requested by a student. That won't be relevant probably in this case. And then also you can set the slot status. Slot status is almost always going to be confirmed, but sometimes you might want to set it as something else if it's a first come first serve. Some people like to do those as tentative. And then you have these 3 different fields where you can actually mark or add additional information, either notes for students, describing the patient population, or notes for school use. Those are not seen by anybody but you. And then you would just click on the save and close to create that slot. If for some reason you need to delete the slot, you'll just click delete slot. You have to create it first before you can delete it. Well, I'm not going to pause yet because I think we can probably still keep going forward unless there's something urgent.
Nothing.
Nothing urgent. Okay, good. Another thing you're going to want to do if you have entered a slot through that means, like somebody gave it to you as like an email or a fax. What a lot of people want to do is actually keep track of that with an exat. Or if like they didn't offer you a slot, if they said contact me later, you need to be able to record that. Or if they said no, I can't do it. So you're going to go over into the same section that you were already in. So you're going to go to search sites, click on the site, go to slots, and then in the upper right hand corner you're going to see something that says manage response, or not the upper right hand, but over to the right hand side you're going to see something that says manage response. When you click on that, you're going to have 2 options, manage responses and manage documents. So the manage responses is where you're going to be able to do the to mark it whether or not it's they said call me later or they said no. And then the other one is where you can upload the paper form. So it's going to look like this when you click on that. It's going to have manage documents. You'll be able to upload the paper form if they gave you one. And then over here, you're going to see the the way that you can mark it if they decided to say call me later or said no. So that's kind of a nice thing. And when you do say call me later, if they did say when, you'll be able to fill that information in and give yourself some notes too. Some other ways of managing slots are editing or deleting them. So if you wanted to go to a specific rotation and you're trying to edit kind of a lot of different slots, this is a kind of a quicker way to do it rather than going from site to site. So you can manage slots for any rotation like this by going to placements by session, placements for, go ahead and click on the placement for the desired session and then click on assign placement. So that assign placement page has a nice little editing section where you can edit any slot that you're given. So you'll see on the far right-hand side of that page, there's a little edit pencil, and that edit pencil allows you to, to edit the slot. You're going to have that same slot form pop up when you click on it, and then you can make any edits to that particular slot at that point in time. You can also delete slots there. So I should have said that too. Okay, moving on to managing first come first serve slots. These are the slots that are given to you by your sites who are committing to offering slots for students, but not necessarily to one school or program. And so that's when you're going to want to have your basically publish these so students can tell you if they're interested or not. So you'll have those on the widget on your dashboard, and then once you click on that, you're going to see all these slots that have everything in them for the first come first serve. and you'll just go into that to publish those. So types of slots.
Actually, we have a few questions.
Okay, sure.
One of the questions we had is, as programs are receiving these slots, if they realize that they want to modify their list of settings, will that affect any old slots from previous sessions?
It will if they delete slots that already exist, or if they delete the setting name that already exists, it would definitely affect those. If you're just going to change the name a little bit, we'd have to go through and do help you with make sure that's working out. But you wouldn't want to delete something altogether if it was something that was being used for a slot previously. You'd want to either supply a new name for it, or just keep it in place and then add the new slot, the new setting names as well.
Yeah, our support team, if you do contact them about that, they'll most likely let you know that if you delete it, the code will still appear, but the setting name won't appear in the system anymore. So they'll provide you with like a report of the slots that contain the setting that you're trying to maybe delete or remove or update, so that you can then provide us with an alternative name, or if you want to delete it permanently, you can do that. So that is something you can do. Another question we have is, when you were talking about the managing responses for the site, if you upload a document for that site, does that automatically add the slots to the system, or do you still have to go in and add those manually?
You'd still have to go in and add them manually. The document is really just so you can upload evidence or a reference if they had sent you something. But it doesn't read the document and then add the slots. You'd still have to add the slots manually.
Perfect. Last question. With the manage slot response, if a site said contact me later, is there an alert to remind you of following up with that site?
So yes, if you set it up that way, way back when we were setting up the slot request, there is an option to have yourself sent an auto reminder 24 hours before the day that the pending slot is, or not pending slot, that the contact me later was marked as. So if you did not mark wanting to receive that, then you would probably just want to go back in and turn it on. Otherwise, if you did turn it on, you will be receiving an email from exact 24 hours before the date that site said call me later, and then you'll be able to get that email and call them later. Or obviously, there's the other option of having the system contact them as an auto reminder without you having to contact them yourself. So there's two options. There's the one where you get contacted 24 hours before the date that they said, and then you can contact them that next day, or have the system contact them on your behalf. Any other questions, Rocio, or is there anything you want to follow up with that?
No, I think they wanted to talk about how to set that up, but I'll go ahead and talk to them offline here, since
Okay.
we want to keep on going here.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, it's like one of the email options that you can set up. So we're gonna move into talking about the types of slots, and there are certain types of slots that we have and that have additional workflows in the system, which means you have to do something with them in order for them to become part of a particular rotation. So slots for other locations is one of those. Call later for slot details, and then first come first serve slots. I guess first come first serve slots are always part of the session, but you want to definitely contact your sites before you start using those. So let's talk about the slots for other locations first. If a site contact does not see a location that they'd like to add slots for listed, they can add a new location, or sometimes they'll also do this if they don't want to commit to one particular location. They'll also do it this way too. And when they click that and you submit it, it goes into the widget first called slots for the locations, and then you'll be able to see the list of slots here. So once you do that, you are going to go to process slots, and that will allow you to add that slot to your system, and it becomes part of the session and everything, and also the site too. If it's a whole new site, it's kind of handy to do that as well. So before we move into like adding that new site, there's also the system checks to make sure that that site doesn't already exist, because sometimes you didn't include it in the slot request, and so yeah, the site didn't see it, or they don't recognize the name that you gave it, so they add a new site anyway. So when you do this, you'll be able to the system just does a check to make sure that there's nothing already that exists. And in this case, we've got an example of where it does already exist in the system. And you can either create a new site or you can update the selected site. So when you update the selected site, it kind of takes you to a page where you can update the information about the site. So you can modify any of the details based on what they gave you, or update anything that's here. And then the next section is going to be where you're going to look at the settings. You can edit settings here, and then you can also assign the designation of the person that's at that site. It does not automatically select, even though the system has that marked. It doesn't automatically select that, so you will need to use the drop down to select what their designation is. So you can either accept those slots that they're offered, or you can reject them, depending on how you want to work with that. And if you click accept and confirm, it automatically adds that particular slot to the site that you that they suggested. The next kind of slot is the call later for slot details, and this is the one where they've basically said, I don't know yet. And these slots are going to remain within the widget until you dismiss them. So you'd have to go through and dismiss, or make sure that you mark them, that you followed up in some way. These are going to remain within the widget until you've dismissed them. And the way you can kind of dismiss them all at once, rather than going, dismiss, each and every one like that, is you can go to the select, you can dismiss them there, or you can go up here and dismiss them all at the same time. It's probably easier to do it all at the same time, especially if you forgot which ones if you forgot to do it when you were doing it, but you know that you contacted them all, or that you're not going to contact them at all. So it's just kind of a nice feature to be able to go all at once.
Beck, I wanted to ask you a quick question before we get too far.
Sure.
You made a comment about using a feature for locations with many sites that don't want to commit to just one site. Someone wanted just a little bit more, wanted you to elaborate on that a little bit more. I'm not sure when that was covered.
Oh, sure. That was the slots for the locations. So sometimes, and this is definitely something that's kind of developed over time, is sites will actually just want to respond to it like an overall saying, yeah, I can offer slots. I don't know where yet. I'm just gonna, give you a blanket yes. If you don't have a site listed that is a corporate site, that gives them that blanket yes, they can add a new site, through the slots for the other locations page, that allows them to basically say, maybe this is the Pennsylvania region, Concentra. So that's, and then they can just say, any of this, they can, in the slot notes, they can say, well, this could be any of the Pennsylvania locations, but I don't know where yet, or, I'll tell you when I know when a student is nearby, or something like that. Some people actually set that up before the March mailing and have that corporate site ready to go, so that your sites see that, especially if they know that's what they prefer. Other people, that you find out through the March mailing that your site would prefer that, and they can add that new location. It's not really a location though, if it's a corporate site, obviously, because it's not narrowed down to exactly which one it would be. Does that help, or does that explain things, Rocio? Am I confusing?
I think that made sense, but if I get another follow-up question, I'll go ahead and call that out. So
okay, sounds good. First come, first serve slots. This is obviously when you're when your site has told you that they could take a student, but they're not able to commit to your specific program. These are the ones you want to act on as soon as you possibly can, so that you can try to secure that slot. Generally, the program that contacts them first with a confirmed student is the one that will get that slot. And there's a couple of ways to view first come, first serve slots. One obviously is through the dashboard widget, which will tell you how many first come, first serve slots have been offered. Another one is down on the analyze page for the slot request. So you'll go to the left menu, click on slot request, click on analyze, and then manage first come, first serve slots. And then there's also, by session, you can go to the placements by session, click on the placement, and then there's a manage first come, first serve slots there too. So kind of a few different ways of managing these. What a lot of people try to do with these is they do publish them to their students so that they can see what those available slots are. So once you get to the manage first come, first serve slot page, it always looks like this, no matter where you came from. And then you can select the ones that you want to publish, and then you'll click the publish button. It's going to take you through this process where it's going to show you, which, the way to select the session that you want, and then you'll click next. And then it's going to allow you to select the students and set a deadline. Make sure that that the deadline is realistic for you and your students. And then also you can obviously select all these students or some of them, or depending on what you want to do. And then it's going to, depending on how many slots you chose, it's going to put all of these together at once, either in an email, if you want to send them an email, or just publish them to their dashboard. If it's an email, they'll see a list of all the slots in the email. On the dashboard, they're just going to see the published slots there. So you've got those two options, either publish only or publish and send an email. And then email would just alert the students to go look at the dashboard too. And then they can respond to whether or not they're interested. This is what the email looks like if you do send it out. So it's just basically like the slot request email where you're going to be able to just generate this one to the students. And you could expire the link in that, but the students could always still go in. So it's not like you're going to cut them off. The main thing though is if you have set up the deadline, they can't respond after the deadline. So making sure that you have that deadline realistically set for your students is helpful. Okay, so if we want to look at the student point of view, which of course is always helpful to do, you're going to be able to, this is just a couple of things on this page. Students will not be notified if you only published. They're only going to be able to be notified if you gave them an email. So they'll be able to go into Exact, like maybe you just told them in class that they can go to Exact and look at it, or if you tell them in general, check every day. They won't be notified, but they'll be able to still express their interest through the first come, first served slot page. If you published and sent an email, the student will be notified, and they can either express their interest by going to this link in here, it just takes them to this page, or they can just go log in later into Steps and look at it there. They express their interest by clicking the thumbs up over here, and then once they're finished expressing their interest in those slots, they'll click here, and it will save those responses that they gave. After students have interacted with that particular page, there is a report that you can use to see it. It's actually back on that same place of manage first come, first serve slots. So you'll go back to manage first come, first serve. You'll be able to see when you published it. You'll see how many students are interested. When you hover over that, it does show you who those students are, and then you can also place the interested students from that process. What it's going to do is it's going to tell you also, if you click on this interest shown, it's going to show you all the students' names, and then what day and time they said they were interested. In case you're doing it a first come, first serve, internally as well, you'll be able to see which student responded first. Again, those pathways are just the same ones to get to that we were talking about before, through the dashboard, the first come, first serve widget to get to this report. You can go to the slot request, click on the analyze, click on manage first come first serve report, or go to placements by session placement, and then click on manage slot first come first serve slots. So several different options for getting to the same page that we used for distribution as well. Okay, so that's all the types of slots. Does anybody have any questions before we move on to the statistics and reports section?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a question where someone is asking if there is a way for students to see which FCFS slots are marked as must fill, other than in the notes section.
No.
Okay.
Students don't see must fill information only. That's an internal thing only right now. That even like on the placement page, that you'll see that highlighted, but students won't see it.
Okay, perfect.
Good question.
Next up, this is a bit of a trickier question, but how can I place a FCFS slot in the event of a reverse wish list where I already know student interest?
Okay, so you did like in this case, you've done a reverse wish list previously. Then maybe a student had something on that list. Maybe they had Flower Hill Medical Center on that list. Depending on how you decide who gets that slot, like if it's more than one student, if you did an auto placement with the reverse wish list, then you could choose that student that had it on their wish list, but it's not going to be through this process of managing first come first serve. You'll just have the one list of students that you know, okay, well, this student had already said previously they want to go to Flower Hill Medical Center. So then you would manually place that student. You won't actually publish it. And you can actually do first come first serve placements without publishing at all. Like some people don't publish them at all. But you would use the the wish list results to go into this particular first come first serve and put the student into it. Does that help answer the question?
I think I'll wait to see if she comments.
Okay.
Just in case. Let's see, while we wait for her to confirm if that's okay. Someone said, oh, could you go over this again, please?
Sure. The first come first serve publishing part.
Well, it's the same question about the, actually, Deborah, I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you really quick, just because I know you first said you didn't see the publish button, and I just want to get confirmation on what you'd like us to go over. So I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you, and you're welcome to unmute and let us know your question.
I don't see the publish button, and I don't. Can you go over this again? I'm totally confused.
Sure. So in terms of publishing first come first serves.
Yes, and how to send the email to the students.
Okay, sure. So let's go back here. So there's 3 ways to get to the first come first serve. Probably the easiest way is through your dashboard widget. So once you click on the dashboard widget, it's going to take you to the manage first come first serve, a link to get to the manage first come first serve page. You can also go through slot requests and click on manage first come first serve slots there too. So either one of those. If you're doing it by session, then you can do it through that through the session as well. But one of those 2 ways should get you to a page that looks like this, and that's the site with first come first serve slots. So you'll basically just see a list of all of the first come first serve slots from from that particular year. And in order to publish it to the students, you'll click on the check mark for the site, or you can use this to select them all, and then you should see a publish button up here. So this is on any manage first come first serve page, whether it's through the one that we did through the dashboard widget or through the analyze tab. You should see something that looks like this.
Yeah, I don't see the publish button.
Well, we should probably then talk about a support request then, because it should be there. You should see publish tools and advanced search on the manage first come first serve page. If not, then we can probably delve into that and make sure that we put in a support request.
Okay.
Okay. And that might be why it's confusing, because if you're missing something that's important in the process, then you probably it would be confusing. But if you do get the when you do get the publish button, you'll be able to click on all the sites that you want to publish to the students, and then it takes you to this little box where you can basically confirm which sessions you want to include. So you'll select the sessions. It's going to show you anything that you've already selected. You can unselect or select. It's a multi-select drop down, and then you'll click the next button, and it's going to take you to a list of all the students for that particular, that this particular slot would apply to. And it will tell you which batch they're part of. So you can just select them all. And then this last day to receive student interest is how you basically set the deadline for the students to respond. And then you can either publish or publish and send an email. If you decided to publish and send an email, it takes you to this email page. If you decided not to send an email, then you're finished right there after the publish. But if you do want to send an email, it's going to pull it up like this, and you'll just need to, probably don't need to do anything here. You can just click on send it, and it will go through, unless you want to add any other details to the email itself. And then this is what it looks like on the student side. So they get an email if you decide to send them an email, or they have the first come first serve through their managed first come first serve slots left menu option. Does that make sense, everyone? Any follow-up questions, Deborah, for that? Or
Yeah, I did have someone mention that they also don't see that, and I'm wondering if it's because when you go into the dashboard widget, the first page that you see will show you the slots, but you have to click on Manage FCFS Slots in order to get to the next page, which will then show you the Publish button. So that may be why you're not seeing it. If you're going through the dashboard, you'll have to first click on Manage FCFS Slots, and then you'll see that Publish button.
Yeah, there's on that Manage widget, each and every slot has a little Manage first come first serve slot. Any of the ones that you click will take you to the same page. So that is a little confusing on the if you go through the widget. I forgot about that part. But if you click, let me see if it shows us on the widget here. No, it doesn't.
I didn't include that because the screen I was looking through was the Analyze section, and that one automatically shows you the Publish button. So I did miss that.
Yeah, but here's an example of what it looks like. So yeah, with the widget, when you click the widget, you're going to see the list of all these slots. And yeah, you can't. There's no Publish button on this page. You'll need to click on the Manage first come first this thing button, and it will take you to that same page we were just looking at that has all the slots on it. So no matter what, like if you have 20, different ones here, whichever one you click on takes you to that same page of first come first serve slots that are offered, and then you can publish them to your students.
Another question we have is the student interest date the same as the wish list close date? And no, they are not the same. Usually with these first come first serve slots, you want to get student interest relatively quickly. So let's say you publish it today, you want responses by Friday, but your wish list is set to close 3 weeks from now. Those are separate dates. So your students would want to respond to you by Friday for the first come first serves. They'll be in a separate section.
Exactly. I mean, you can certainly set it to be the same if you wanted to, but it's completely separate from the wish list. So you would not do that most likely.
Yeah. And one common question that I've seen here from several users is they're how they can edit the publish or the email template for the first come first serve that is sent to the student. So that is not included in this webinar, but Beck, do you think that we can quickly go into the system and just show them where they can do that?
Sure. Are you already logged in, or?
I am, yes.
I think I shut down Chrome, so if you want to take a screen away for a minute, you can totally do that.
Okay, let me go ahead and share my screen here. 1 second, guys. I do apologize if you guys see a mess on my screen, but
I mean, I can log in too if you want me to.
oh no, we're good. Let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go ahead and publish this really quick just to get the email template name, since that's the first thing you want to make sure you have, because once we go into the email template editor, it's just a laundry list of all of the templates in the system, so it can be tricky. So here, I'm going to go ahead and just make a note of this template name here. So in order to edit any templates permanently, rather than doing it through the editor every time, you want to go on your left menu over to configuration. Let me zoom out here. And once you're on configuration, you're going to go over to the advanced options. I personally really like the email template editor. I know some people do not. So if you find these steps are really kind of just really technical, or you think it's too confusing, you can always ask support to update your template as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go into email template editor. And once I'm here, you're going to notice on the left-hand side, all of my templates are here and they're in alphabetical order. So I want to look for that template, and it's called Alert Site FCFS. So let's see here, slot at batch level. So alert, no, let's go to alert and then site at batch level. Here we go. So once I've found my template name, on this right hand side is where I'm going to see my template. So I can go ahead and make some changes here. I'll just go ahead and add my mock user's name here. I want to make it more personable. And so once I make all of my changes, it is strongly recommended that you type directly into this box, that you don't copy and paste from other sources, just because the format can get skewed here when you actually send your email. The format may not be in the way that you want it to be. You don't want to actually change any of the merge fields, which are these fields here with the pound sign next to them, since those are set up by the team. So if you do accidentally delete it, go ahead and let the support team know. They'll put it back for you. But once I'm done making all of my changes, I'll go ahead and just click on the save button. And once it saves, it temporarily shows you a validation message letting you know that it's saved, but you kind of have to scroll up to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and click save, and I'm going to scroll up here. It usually comes up here, and there it is. And so once that's there, the next time I send out that email, it will include the changes that I've made here. So hope that helps, but I'll go ahead and just because I need to look at the questions to see if anything else has come up. And Beck, feel free to start sharing once you're ready, if you're still here.
Can you see the right screen, Rocio?
Yes, I can see your managing slots publish FCFS.
Okay, cool. All right, so going back into, I think we were talking about getting ready to go into statistics and reports. So I'm gonna go ahead and go to that. We were just finishing up the first come, first serve results. So statistics and reports. So the analyze section of the slot request contains, a general overview of how the mailing went. You've also got your dashboard widgets that are different reports in a way. You've got reports on site responses, and you have the ability to send email follow-ups. And in all of the dashboard widget reports are also going to show up in this analyze tab. So it's kind of magical in that way. It's got a lot of stuff that you can do. So you're going to go to slot request on the left hand menu, and then click on the analyze tabs to see these reports. So obviously, you see the statistics on the top of the page, how many emails were sent, how many bounced, how many links were clicked, which kind of link was clicked, and then how many slots have been offered so far. You're also going to see a list of the session rotation names here, and how many students are part of that particular batch, how many slots were received, and then what the response rate was for that particular rotation. So those are kind of nice looking. And then obviously you can see if what the settings are too. It's a very nice looking chart for that. And then circling back to the dashboard widgets. So this is what it looks like on the dashboard. And this is what it looks like on that right menu within the Analyze tab. So you've got the call later for slots, slots processed at another location, manage first come first serve slots, and then pending canceled slot list. The pending is what is the important thing here. Canceled you're not going to have really yet, but the pending are any of those slots that have not yet been confirmed through the slot request process by your sites. And just kind of going over what each of these things does. So the slot request response gives you a quick status on the clinical sites and whether or not they have responded, offered slots or no slots offered or call later. So you'll see a response for that. Sites who have not responded to the slot request is going to give you a list of sites that have not responded to the mailing. And then you'll be able to also send them reminder emails through this menu item. Sites who have not yet offered slots is going to give you, sorry, who have not offered slots. It gives you a list of the sites that said no. So you can see which ones those are. And then any interview required slots are going to show up in this one. And then the annual slot request confirmation report gives you the ability to view which confirmation what emails were sent to your clinical partners, and also resend those emails if you wanted to. So kind of gives you a report of the emails that were sent, or the ability to send them again. Okay, any questions before we move into the final 2 slides that are really just more like talking about the future?
Judy is asking, is there a way to compare stats of varying years?
Yes. Are you still in the system, Rocio?
Yes.
Do you mind going over into that so can show that?
1 second. I think I have another question that we can also address by logging into the system, so I'm just going to call that out. Someone said we mentioned changing the default year. Can you explain that my system is still then defaulting to 2021? Okay, so we'll go over both. So let me go ahead and share.
Thank you so much for being logged in.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so let me know if y'all can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is about the changing the default tier, since that one is easier.
It's an easier question to answer. The other one.
Yeah. So when you're going into a site and you want to add a slot, you may notice, depending on how you set up your system, when you go into the slot section, you'll see that the select year is defaulted to something. And maybe you've already done it, or you haven't noticed it, or you just change it every time. But if you want to keep it to a specific year, there is a way to do that. To fix that, you're going to go over to configuration. And then within the school configuration section, you'll click on configure calendar year. And so on this section here, we will have all of your years listed, and whatever is defaulted will be the year that is selected on that page by default. So you can see my system for some reason being 2021 is my default year, but whatever year you select here, and once you save that change, that will be the new year that will show up every time you go into that slots page. So you can go ahead and change that here, and then you're good to go. You don't have to worry about changing that every time. And then for the next question, let me go back to the question really quick.
It was like comparing statistics
yes.
from year to year.
And, okay, so you'll help me navigate this one.
Okay, so the way I would do it would be to go through the dashboard, and then go to calendar dashboard. And hopefully it's on this one. It's actually not on every single stub I've looked at before, but there should be something that's called an annual comparison site. Yeah, there it is. Annual comparison site slot report. Click any of them, and you'll be able to select particular years. So this one allows you to look at it from a year perspective. you can, basically it's going to give you 3 years to look at, and then you can export this to Excel. But it's not giving the exact count, obviously here. It's just showing you whether or not the site provided any slots at all for that particular calendar year. So that's one report. The other one, and I'm not sure if you have it, Rocio, it's actually session-wise also. So if you go back to the dashboard, or go back to the calendar dashboard, and
Okay.
I don't think they have it here. Looks like this is not. It's not in the sales stuff. I don't see it.
Okay. Let me try stuff here. No.
No, maybe I'm just imagining it.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm not really imagining it. I have seen it before, but I can get back to you on that, Judy, if you want. I'm not really sure why it's not here, unless I'm wrong about how you get to it.
Okay, perfect. She said yes, so we'll go ahead and contact her offline.
Okay,
So I'll
sounds perfect. All right. Perfect. Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. Do this up here. Okay. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so next steps, kind of moving forward. We do have an upcoming webinar, how to follow up with your clinical sites. So that's going to be at the end of March 30th, and we'll talk about how to send out slot request reminder emails and such with your sites. Keep an eye out for your Thursday tips. Still, we'll be doing those until the end of March, so you'll keep getting those Thursday tips, which are all about March mailing and slot requests. And one other thing is that we're going to be asking for feedback. There's a link in here that you can click on to fill out the survey, beforehand if you want to. But you're also going to be sent a survey link on Thursday where you can provide feedback on just the overall process of the March mailing this year. So we always like to hear how things are going and any suggestions you might have, and so that feedback is very helpful to us because we really do take it seriously. Other than that, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come here and see if anybody has any additional questions.
And I did want to mention that the survey will be sent to you in this upcoming Thursday tip. So look out for it there. But if you are eager to start a survey, I know I love surveys. So if you do want to start that, it is linked on that previous slide. So if you're in the presentation mode, you should be able to click it. It'll take you directly to the form. If you're not in presentation mode, you might have to right click and then request that it opens it for you. But if you are wanting to start that, that's available for you there. We do have one additional question here.
Okay.
In terms of workflow, if you are not publishing FCFS to students, but as a DCE, you confirm 2 or 3 FCFS slots from a site, do you go through slots and just remove sites not using so they don't show on the wish list?
So if you don't want to have the first come first serve show up on the wish list, generally,
I might be able to unmute her if needed.
Yeah, maybe do that because I'm not sure. I want to make sure I'm not answering the question in an unhelpful way.
Okay, let's see. Go ahead, Maureen.
Okay, yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah, we don't typically publish our first come, first served slots to our students, but we choose as DCEs if we're going to use the slot. So let's say one site gives me 5 slots and I only want to confirm 3 of them and have those published for the students, because typically first come, first serve will automatically show up on the wish list, right? So I would just go to the slots and actually delete them or remove them from that session.
Yeah, you could put them give them a different slot status, like tentative, and then when you're making your wish list, you can just only include confirmed slots. That's probably what I would do if I was doing, because I would want to keep track of what was offered as a first come first serve, I wouldn't want to delete it. But if you yeah, if you mark it as like tentative, it won't be included in the wish list if you don't include that status.
And I do that, I would just go to the aqua button on the, when I'm looking at it. When I'm looking at the slot, right? I just go to the aqua button and just change the
Yeah.
stat.
Yep, you can do it there, or you can actually do it on the analyze. No, sorry, on the assign placement page. You could change the status there too, and then it would disappear once you saved it.
All right, got it. Thank you.
Yep, sure, no problem. Great question. All right, anything else, guys?
It looks like that was the only question.
Okay.
But I know there was today's session had a lot of questions in the background. So if I did not get to your question, I do apologize in advance. But I will be going over the questions just to make sure that it was either answered during the webinar, or if a follow-up is required, we will be reaching out to you. So not to worry, but we will be going over that information just to make sure we answer all of your questions.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you all for your time today. And we will hopefully see you at the next webinar.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.